Hello, welcome to Acsom Halftime Live, where the current scoreline is Celtic 2, Chelsea 0. It's interesting, to say the least, but Ryan, that first 11 minutes was absolutely wild, was it not?
It was back and forth, but I mean, first thing I noticed on me as you run away and get your notes, uh, at pitch, which they've talked about a few times, and I think it came up a few times in interviews that they laid the grass pitch on top of the artificial football pitch or American football pitch. Uh, oh, it was heavy. It was like a shag carpet. Every single time the ball bounced, it just died.
Mm-hmm.
And I, the way that Chelsea were coming at us, the way that it seemed to kind of take us a little bit, by surprise, and the way some of those balls were kind of coming in and over the top and dying, I just felt that there was going to be one or two mistakes, but we somehow saw it out. And then after that, just like we saw in the last few games, the midfield take over, and it's just the positioning and the triangles and the angles that they're playing back and forth is just beautiful. I feel like for me, this might be taking it a bit too far. I feel like a lot of last season we saw what I felt like Brendan trying to adapt to Ange Ball with the team he had.
Mm-hmm.
And this time I feel like this seems like the team playing the way Brendan wants them to play. What did you think?
There is a definite change for what I can see. That first 11 minutes was utterly wild. Chelsea's shape was mental. I've never seen a team where your centre half's actually pressing the other centre half. I don't know if that's what they've been told to do. And their line is so high. They're virtually defending on the halfway line. And the amount of times Kyogo was just standing there going, just knock it. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. After about the first 11 minutes, I think you've actually seen that Celtic are a wee bit further in pre-season, understand the shape and what they're trying to do better. And I think we've controlled the game since that point. But still to thank Kasper Schmeichel. Kasper Schmeichel has been absolutely immense for us. And one of the better things, you get a wee visitor there. And one of the better things is, I think Kasper, is he mic'd up?
I know.
Because you can actually hear everything that he's saying. And and when he was praising Tony Ralston, he was playing Scalesy, as he actually calls him. I think for me, watching the first half, apart from the midfield three and how great they are at breaking that Chelsea press, for me, Schmeichel, goalkeeping and also passing the ball for the back has been absolutely, it's impressed me more than what I should be impressed by a pre-season friendly.
I know. It shows, the more and more as we got the two keepers in, with Schmeichel kind of coming in. I know he's on a 1 year with an option for a second, but it's great that we, granted, maybe wish we had someone a wee bit younger, but replaced, that presence on the team and the locker room that Joe Hart had. But I mean, I thought Joe Hart has been a fantastic servant for us for the last 3 years. And I would have gladly bitten his hand off if he agreed to, well, maybe not his hand, if he agreed to play for another season. But, we can start asking questions. Did we replace that presence and get a better shot stopper? Did we replace that presence and get someone who's a wee bit better on the ball that knows how Brendan wants to play? I'm not sure, but maybe that's a wee bit why we're seeing the tactics change, where we're playing out of the back a bit more than we wanted to. Something that Brendan, I think rightly so, said, he can't play the way Ange wanted to play with Joe Hart. It puts him too much under pressure. But no, he's definitely, really, really impressed me. And I feel confident going into this next season with him between the sticks.
Definitely. And look, and it's on paper, when I looked at it, I went, that's an upgrade. I think that's an upgrade on Joe Hart. Yeah. Joe Hart would admit himself, and admitted in interviews towards the end of last season, there were certain things that he couldn't do anymore, and that's why he says, "I've got no inclination to actually have another year because there's certain things that I can't do anymore." You look at Schmeichel, five month older.
Yeah.
The saves that he's made tonight have been great, but it's when they've been the high press, and their press is wild. Their press is all over the pitch. He's coming out and he's giving us that extra body in there. and he can actually play that part. He can actually play that pass out, and I think what's been really, really noticeable is our decent players can beat that press, whereas our limited players have been getting caught on the ball. Because of that press, and I can't say that's a surprise, is it?
No,
you can't be a surprise that guys, players that we think that are limited at a high level, like your Taylors, your Scales, your Ralston, are getting caught out at that press. So for me, I'm not going to slag the boys for actually doing it, because we know the limitations of that team, but all of them have put in a shift so far. And we'll probably see wholesale changes at half time, But it has been very, very good so far for what I've actually seen.
No, I don't think there's many of us that can't be happy about this. And to piggyback on your point there about that, I think why people, like especially Scales, gets the criticism he gets from the team, because I do think he deserves, based on the personnel that's at the club right now, to be first choice alongside CCP. And credit to him, he's improved and he's earned his 2 medals this past season. And it's not so much what he can do as a defender. I think it's more of how many times he makes a decision or doesn't make a decision and puts us under pressure that we wouldn't be under otherwise. And I think that's the thing that stood out for me a little bit, because this is preseason. You talk about Chelsea's high press. I remember beginning of preseason last season when Ange was having or this is 2 seasons ago, Ange was having the press up so high that Joe Hart was nearly at the halfway line. And we knew that's not what he was going to do when the season started, but he was just trying something out and seeing what he did. So for all we know, Chelsea's doing the same thing.
Well, it's quite interesting that Maresca was one of the touted guys after Postecoglou left because of the style of play. And you're watching it and you're going, maybe this Chelsea team are a wee bit like the Ange Postecoglou side that we were when Postecoglou came in, where it looks an absolute wild, but we didn't look wild. Apart from that first 5-6 minutes, then we've settled down.
Yeah,
we look like a team that's settled, that knows what we're doing, and that is pleasing. It is actually pleasing to say that. But then let's have the wee bit of negative. Matt O'Reilly's just delicious. Utterly delicious as a football player, and there's not much else we could say. In that goal, the goal that we scored, that was an absolutely great set play. We drew Chelsea out and actually played the ball through them, and Greg Taylor actually deserves credit for bringing him in. It was a great set play goal. I'm actually pleased that it just wasn't a corner kick which was like loaded into the box. We actually thought about it for once.
Well, to be fair, I was literally writing my notes at the time. Another short corner that, goes almost all the way back to the keeper, and then bang, 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 2 passes later, and it's in the back of the net. So I had to cross out my note and almost be like, oh, okay, this worked. And it's smart. It's the one thing that the commentary team here in the US, which if anyone is watching the US, that's the one downside that commentary is utterly dreadful, called out, is doing the short corners because of the height difference with the Chelsea team is probably the right way to go. So, a broken clock's right twice a day, I guess we'll say. But with Matt O'Reilly, it's just, I really hope that this isn't just even more him going in the shop window with all these performances, but I hope this doesn't take it too over the top. I'm not saying he's to the level of Messi, but when I say Messi-esque, because if you watch his positioning and watch both goals, his assist and his goal, a lot of it was not so much his skill or movement, it was the lack of movement. Him just sitting still. Kyogo makes that run into the box, the entire defense goes back, and it just opens up the space for him. Same thing when he was pointing with Ralston to play that through ball. He just stood still, and it was a lot of that non-movement and letting the play around him play, and that intelligence. And that just, it's going to be a sad day when he eventually goes. I just hope it's not this season.
When you look at the way that we played in that first half, we can only judge by that first half. I can only judge by that first half. Those midfield three are in complete and utter tandem, and they're working. Akati putting the boy on his butt when the boy tried to do with the high press as well. He's looked busy in the middle of the park. Callum McGregor's looked really, really busy in the middle of the park as well. I mean, you don't know. You probably find that we'll have wholesale changes at half time. It seems a very, very warm evening there.
Yep.
I pity any Scottish or Irish Celtic fans are across there with a stadium without a roof and that temperature, because I hope they've all got hats on and I hope they're all well hydrated, because it looks very, very hot. So, you can see that there is going to be changes in the second half, but I think whatever Rodgers wanted, if Rodgers wanted his team for next week to click from middle to front, for next week he's got it. He has got that, and he can be very, very happy with that 45 minutes.
Yeah, the only caveat to that is we've had the luxury of playing against teams that are going to play a little bit higher and are going to press us, and I think that's actually benefited us. I've noticed that when we dink it around a little bit too much or maybe slow it down, that's not when things happen. Things are happening when there's a 1-2 quick pass, you get Hatate open the middle and he finds it. So it's going to be interesting coming against. I know Kilmarnock, they've under McInnes, they actually did come at us a little bit more last season. They could kind of smell blood in the water and came after us a few games. So, but I would suspect they'll probably do what teams tend to do, play a little bit of low block. And is that going to translate there? I hope it does. It's a difficult thing because how do you prepare for that? How do you prepare for the Trolls in the middle of the Scottish season where teams are just playing 11 across the back? But it'll be interesting to see how it comes out.
Again, I think it's all about the speed that you actually play it. I think it's all doing with the speed. I think a lot of times last season we were really, really slow and ponderous, and we didn't have that quick thinking. And the midfield seems to have that quick thinking. But as you say, it is like it's because of the teams that the higher press. Kilmarnock will only come out and do that high press, but if they do, then you've got Schmeichel there who seems to be able to just give me the ball and I'll actually find a pass. It's not really Joe Hart. It's not going to be the Joe Hart or wee simple pass. I'll play this ball into the middle of the park quicker. Yep. So that's another option, and I think that we're going to be looking for our wingers to do a bit more. And our wingers have been quiet in the games, and it's a bit of a worry. It's a bit of a worry that Dyson going off, but I think it was just a clash rather than a muscle tear.
I think he just knocked knees and with a player in a challenge, and you guys saw him walking a wee bit gingerly, and then he was running around. So I hope he kind of ran off the injury, but I think it is a little bit of caution. But it does give us a little bit of concern where we potentially are going into next week, and Kuhn, who's done so well on this, is not even in the team sheet for something on his knee, and now Dyson's out. But we can just only hope that's precautions they're taking in preseason.
I think both of them are precautions because Rodgers says that Kuhn was fit, and you're not going to risk him in a pre-season friendly on what you've actually said is a dodgy pitch. Right. It's a dodgy pitch.
It is dodgy. Yeah,
and we have a full week of training for this. We do have a full week of training to do this. Tony Cassidy, no comments being shown on screen. Tony, there's loads of comments coming in. I can't actually keep up with them, so apologies. But we'll be here post match as well, where we'll have a more in-depth discussion. It's half time, so we just want to discuss. Give a couple of bullet points. This is the bullet points. Matt McIver, I'll bring yours up. I've never ever managed a live stream. Please can my comment go on the screen for that reason? Aye, there you go. I've done it. I've done it for you. Celtic follower reminds us friendlies are workouts and nothing more. They are. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy them. I'm enjoying them, but I understand that it goes for nothing because every game is completely different. Tony Cassidy, any idea where is Paul? Paul at the moment will probably be sitting to watch the second half with Charlie Mulgrew and Joe Ledley and Caesar's Paradise in Grangemouth. That's where he is at the moment. And I've answered your question as well there, mate. I'm looking forward to the second half, mainly just because I know that there's going to be loads of changes, and it'll be interesting to see if anybody stands out. But if you're judging pre-season friendlies on what the manager wants out of it, that 45 minutes, I think he's going to go. My strongest 11 is ready. I think that's probably his main takeaway that he's going to have.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you can go into next week full confidence in that. And as much as I do agree that these preseasons are more of a workout, I do sense a lot of what we got out of these last 3 games is making those tactics that I think I said earlier, that I feel like this is getting more and more playing like a Brendan team. There was someone I need to give credit to in the Acsom chat that said Hatate seems like a much more a different player. He seems like he understands the game a little bit more and is not making as many rash silly passes. So I think that's just a little bit about him understanding what's expected of him. He even said in one of his interviews recently that Ange wanted us to play more vertical, and it was about getting it quick, and that's how he kind of played, and needs to kind of understand and bed into this with Brendan, and that's what I've been seeing, which is can only be great that the team's kind of getting around what Brendan wants to see out of his own vision.
Aye, I think we'll go a bit more in depth after the game about. There's a lot of folk in the comments are areas that we need to improve in that, and I think we can do that after the game. We'll have a wee sum up of the game, then we'll move on going forward. We'll have a wee look at the Kilmarnock game that's coming up and hope we want Celtic today before the end of August. Stevie boy, Kev's a wordsmith, not an analyst. Don't I know it, mate? I'm not going to deny that I'm anything else, mate. I'm quite glad Ryan's bailing me out here, actually, because he knows a bit about football. I just like goals, put the ball into the back of the net and stuff like that. Right, lads, let's get and watch the second half, and then we'll see you all here at full time. Hail.
Right, cheers.